Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to see all of you here today. My name is Kathy Risberg, and we are the Social Justice Alliance. We're so glad that you're joining us. We meet every Saturday at noon, and we welcome you back in the space because we have different things going on every single week. I'm really pleased to be part of this team with Rose Colasino, Kim Garnett, Jonathan Rogoff. We are working together just to bring you the best programming and elevate the voices of all people in this world. So we're just so glad to be here today. And we appreciate all our partners too. So we are a multiracial, ethnic, generational coalition. We're pursuing a more diverse, engaged, inclusive electorate by educating voters and advocating policies that directly impact underserved communities through empowering, supporting, and elevating frontline groups, such as the groups we have today, to achieve economic, political, and social justice. You can contact us at iisja-indivisible, Illinois.com. Follow us on Facebook, and also follow us on Twitter. We have a monthly meeting structure, and I'm really excited about the new name change, thanks to one of our co-leads, Jonathan Rogoff. We're calling this first week Listening, Learning, and Elevating Voices from the Front Lines. And so pleased to have with us Jessica Matzinger, Sarah Konishnik, and Joy Bunton to speak. Our second week is our Suppression-Free Democracy Roadmap to 2022. It's such a crucial election this year, and all your help is needed. So we hope that you'll join us on the second week. Our third week is a really important week where we take a look at disinformation at school boards and ways that we can confront this disinformation through letter writing to our newspapers or through speaking at school board meetings. And then our fourth week is voter registration. Nothing is more important than getting everybody out to register to vote and then getting those voters out to show up. So we're partnering with a lot of different groups, and we invite you to join us the fourth week. So every Saturday, this is the place to be at noon. Today, we are so pleased to have with us Joy Bunton from the People's Response Network, Sarah Konishnik from the Newtown Action Alliance, and Jessica Matzinger from Repairs of the Breach and the Poor People's Campaign. All three of these women are really trailblazing in their communities to make a difference, to have their voice be heard. And I believe our first speaker will be Joy Bunton, and then she'll be followed by Jessica, and then Sarah. If you could be our last speaker today, that would be a great lineup. Thank you. So Joy, thank you so much for coming. I didn't give a bio about you, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself if you'd be so kind to do that.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joy, born and raised in Chicago. I'm very passionate about progressive policies and very passionate about COVID. Last year, I helped organize a March for Medicare for All march here in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. And I think it went pretty well. I was able to, it was my first time in a somewhat leadership role trying to organize. I didn't have much organized experience before. I just was doing a lot of advocacy. And so it was really a way to put my feet in the fire. But now I've gotten into COVID because I lost a dear family friend to COVID, and I'm also myself high risk. And so I'm at more danger of more serious side effects, or, like hospitalization or death if I happen to catch COVID, especially if I wasn't vaccinated, but I just got my second booster. But still, I'm still concerned and about people who aren't like me, who aren't as informed about whether or not they're at risk and whether or not they have the antibodies to protect themselves. All right, I have Howard with me to help me go through these. These are his screens telling us the current situation with COVID, and that those boosted 20 times less likely to die compared to those who are unvaccinated, 7 times less likely to be hospitalized. And the fourth vaccine for 12-year-olds and older, immunocompromised. They're receiving active cancer treatment for tumors or cancers, received organ transplant, taking medicine to suppress the immune system. Stem cell implant within the last 2 years, are taking medicine to suppress immune system, moderate severe primary immunodeficiency, advanced or untreated HIV infection, active treatment with high dose corticosteroids or other drugs that may suppress their immune response. And Howard, you can chime in anytime. This is like a fact sheet. Consequences, lack of funding for efforts to combat COVID if Congress does not act. So they're saying they're running out of money, but we know we have money for things that, most of us don't want, like war, but somehow they're running out of money for COVID. And that's going to be very serious since we have this new subvariant that's taken over the country. So 30,280,000 people are uninsured. And there's going to be no more free COVID tests, vaccines, or treatment. And the White House says providers no longer able to submit claims for testing, treating, and vaccinating the uninsured. And on the 22nd, the uninsured program will stop accepting new claims for testing and treatment due to lack of sufficient funds. Now, Eric Topol, he's a very good person to follow on Twitter. And he shows right here, BA2 wave in the US. Good part is that we're starting from a very low case burden, unlike previous waves. There are 8 states in Puerto Rico with double-digit increase in the past 2 weeks, which is not good. And so we're going to have a new wave. And so how big it'll be, it doesn't look good when we still have low booster rates. So states must close they are closing mass test and vaccine sites. The virus is, it's probably going to surge. So this is very bad. It puts us in great danger. And as you see here, the boosted population is only 29%, which was needed against Omicron. So it's definitely needed against this subvariant BA2. The fully vaccinated, which we disagree with that terminology. We want it to be called just 2 shots because you're not really fully vaccinated against Omicron or this new subvariant BA2 with just 2 shots. And 77% are just 1 shot vaccinated, which sounds good, but against Omicron and the new subvariant, which is more contagious, no, it's not enough. This shows the vaccine booster rates with the other countries. And, you see United States is low compared to Italy and Belgium and all these, even the United Kingdom, they have higher booster rates than us. Switzerland's a little better, but we've got a long ways to go. And with the deaths, so these countries with the higher booster rates, they still experience, like a lot of deaths with BA2 because it hit them harder first. Because it's, they have it before we have, the surge, which is coming here. And so there's great vaccine disparity in the Chicago public schools. And this shows North Side neighborhoods in Chicago. They have the highest average school vaccination rates. Chicago is still one of the highest segregated cities in the country. And it even shows with disparities in mitigating COVID. In the schools counted by vaccine rate, here the lighter the shade means the higher the vaccine rate. And so, of course, it shows, unfortunately, that light pink color is very small compared to just 0 to 19%, because there are predominantly Black schools where it's like 10% vaccine rate. But they're trying to tell us that schools are safe, which they're not. Of course, average vaccination rates in Chicago public schools from December till now, there's Chicago, the charter schools and district schools. Howard, can you help explain this graphically?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Dr. Howard Ehrman. I was the former Assistant Commissioner of Health here in Chicago for about 7 years. This is from Chalkbeat. I'm not sure if people here look at Chalkbeat. It's a national publication online, and then they have different regions. And so this is for the Chicago Chalkbeat. This shows what's been happening from December, which actually is a lot better than what's happened overall. And as you can see here, majority Black schools and majority Latino schools are basically not even at 50%. And this is just one vaccine. So one vaccine is certainly better than no vaccines, but as Joyce explained, the question is, do you have at least one booster? And now, of course, I hope everyone here who's 50 and older, there's probably a few other people beside Joy and I, should get their fourth booster as soon as possible. So the situation in the schools is dire, not just in Chicago, but across the country. It would be great to hear from all of you who live in suburban Chicago region and other parts of Illinois, if vaccines were offered directly in the schools where your kids go to school or your grandkids go to school, because that's the key way to increase the vaccination rate, not to have kids have to go or their parents have to go outside of their own school to get vaccinated. And of course, this is something that everybody I think knows, whatever indicator you want to look at for health, housing, education, things are always better on the north side where people have higher incomes, and it's much whiter than the south or west side of Chicago.
Thanks, Howard. This shows the from March 8th, the differences with the testing in red. It's predominantly whites that are able to afford and get the tests or have greater access to the tests. And the cases, it's mostly Latinos. It's in red again. And Blacks are the most hospitalized and dying, but we're the least vaccinated. But it doesn't show the booster data. So here we show our Chicago dashboard only shows up to 2 shots. It doesn't show Omicron, and it shows, broken up by race and by age. The youngest, it's very low. This is from February though, but it's still low. It's only 51.9%, 5 to 11, 43.1 for 2 shots. And again, it doesn't show 3. And this is broken up by, these are predominantly Black zip codes. And on the right, it shows the deaths per zip code. And I included this column to show that the booster rates are just, we don't know what they are per zip code. And my zip code is 60649, which is that first red row. And it's like, we have 214 deaths in my zip code. It's predominantly Black. That's a problem. And this is the Latinos majority zip codes. And you see they're in green, most of them, but they also have high deaths because we don't know what the cotton picking booster rate is. This is, you can't see this, but I'll put in the chat, the link on the left is all the zip codes. And on the right is predominantly white zip codes. And the deaths are much less than the Black and Latino codes. And it shows the difference between the CDC's previous transmission levels. And on the right is their new community levels, which is very misleading. And it drives us at PRN crazy because right now we are supposed to be at orange overall. And that should still mean you should wear a mask. But now they have the optional masks because it looks like, it looks all pretty and low, which it's not. And this is at the state level. So you see Chicago and the surrounding counties. I'm not sure what this yellow one is. You guys can tell me. It's yellow. It's orange. So we should still be wearing the mask. But on the right, it looks all pretty and blue, it's wrong. And we have this is a graphic showing the difference between the
excuse me, Joy, could you go back to that? Yeah, so this slide is very important.
This one? Okay.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay.
So since the beginning of, in quotes, modern epidemiology, which started in 1854 in London, the most important thing to follow any kind of outbreak, epidemic, or pandemic is what we call transmission at the community level. The community level could be your own particular suburban town, or it could be county-wide, but you've got to know exactly who, where, and when people get infected. My last job was being the chief medical officer of Will County for 3 years, and Will County is the one in yellow. So basically, what the CDC did to make things look better, everything they've done under both Trump and Biden is to make things look better, not to control COVID. So what they've done now in the last month is to abolish the community transmission data. It's no longer available the last 10 days on their website. And what they've done instead is made up a new term that doesn't really exist in the real world called community level by county map. What community level means is the number of hospital admissions, ICU beds, and deaths. Now that data is important, but it's not as important as the initial infections at the community level. So we have no idea. They then told the states to stop reporting community transmission data. You can still find it on the Illinois Department of Public Health website and the Chicago Department of Public Health website, and maybe for your county, depending on what county you're in. And so we have no idea now how bad the transmission is for the new variant of BA.2.
Thank you, Howard. And again, to the masks, they say to lift them, and we say no. And it shows the difference with the N95. And on the right, it shows, a very illustrative graphic between non-woven mask, t-shirt material. And on the right is N95. You don't see all those little micro droplet aerosol going around. And this shows the difference with the booster. The middle on the left, that is, you see 2 dose 2s, and I think that's because one of them is Johnson or Moderna. I forget. Johnson is the one that's supposed to just get one. Yeah, so shows a difference in effectiveness. And on the right is Eric Topol again, and he shows on the left an orange is 2 shots, and the purple on the right is 3 shots for vaccine effectiveness. So it's just better to be boosted, and we need to have the data to encourage people to get boosted. And this shows how COVID is airborne, which they're not talking about enough, and why people should still wear the masks indoors. So if you're quiet, it's silent, don't say anything after an hour because of just breathing without a mask, it's already in the air. And talking, like including preaching in the church, you see up to an hour, it's a lot. And singing, forget it, or shouting, it's just, it's just all in the air. And this is a list of, can I make this bigger? Cancer, cerebrovascular disease, kidney disease, lung disease, liver, diabetes. It's not just obesity. It includes depression, it could be dementia, puts you at risk, pregnancy, smoking, sickle cell, and possible risk factors include asthma, hypertension. So it's not just obesity, which can put people in trouble. And these are just graphics from a couple of months ago that shows also, again, by age group, the difference between boosted. They'll show us this with boosted, but not zip code. And this is 5 to 11 years old. And of course, way up here is 12 to 17 on the top, because it's 5 to 11 and then 12 to 17. So this one way up here is 12 to 17 without anything. And this is 18 to 29, 30 to 49, 50 to 64. 65 to 79 and 80 up. And each time it's the unvaccinated, it's higher up. And this is a graphic. It's going to be in the presentation I provide you in the chat. It's like a nice thing you can look at, put up on your refrigerator on long COVID, which is like 10% of people can be at least, or can have long COVID, which can affect your lungs and it can affect your brain, your lungs, your heart, all these things. Like on the left, I like this graphic. In the middle, they show the lasting impact, and you'll see in the link, you'll be able to access this. And this is the defense which would be preferred to what we're currently doing, not just focusing on the masks and vaccines, but everything in terms of distancing and contact tracing, which is bad, testing, which is bad. We're outsourcing that, and we should be making it, a public health thing where public employees are helping with that. And it's been gutted, especially in Chicago, since Kara Washington left, which Howard can speak to. It's just not what it used to be. The quarantine and isolating, cutting that down from 14 to 10 to 5 days, that's not wise at all. And so we're not doing what we need to be doing, basically. And this is a 5-point program of demands that correlate with our vaccine ordinance and our ordinance summary. It's basically rebuilding the public health department and trying to get more public employees to handle the areas which these privatized companies and contractors aren't doing, especially the testing and the contact tracing and vaccines. because even though people might think that CVS and Walgreens and Jewel are convenient, the access still isn't what it should be or used to be. Because back in the day, we got rid of polio by having people come in the schools and in your workplace. You didn't have to make an appointment and go anywhere. It came to you. So that's what we want to do. We want to take the vaccine to the people and hire at least like 2,500 people. And we're trying to get organizations to endorse our ordinance and get it out of the rules committee. And it would be great if anyone in their respective city, village, county could pass something similar. I'm trying to see if I can get passed at the state level, get a state rep to introduce at the state level. And I talked to Danny Davis about introducing a federal version. But that's basically my presentation. And I don't know if there's time for questions.
So I would just I think it would be really helpful for us in the city of Chicago to really hear from you about how you think your health department in your town or your county and the state of Illinois under Governor Pritzker and Dr. Ezike, how you think they did handling the pandemic up to date where you live. I think it would really be a good exchange, and certainly happy to answer any questions.
Well, first of all, Joy and Howard, thank you so much. I always have an ear and an eye on all things medical, being of that age when I need to pay attention. And I don't know if you noticed, I did get my 4th booster yesterday, Joy and Howard. So I feel so good about that. So up our way, yeah, sure. We're in white communities, Northwest suburban Chicago area, a doctor I can call and get all my direction. And yeah, makes a difference. And just talking to Joy earlier, finding out like this is a problem. And I know it's a problem. So, and I want to know what we can do. How are you feeling? What do you need? And how can we help? Anyway, that's all I have to say. But thank you. And we're going to have to just kind of do our questions about the next 3 minutes to move on, but we'll have to have you back, obviously. Joy's going to come back every first Saturday. You guys are welcome.
First Saturday.
Every first Saturday to give us an update on this because it's not going away soon.
I think it'd be great to, if people want to raise their hand, either using the tool in Zoom or just physically raise their hand. How many people here know somebody who got COVID? And do you think there's any way that could have been prevented if the federal, state, and local governments had handled the response differently? I think that's the question for everyone. Heather, I see you shaking your head. Would you like to say what you think could have been done differently, or?
Yeah, I actually have expertise in public health. I'm a former paramedic and EMS instructor with my master's degree in community health education.
Fantastic.
And so the failed response at all levels began with our white supremacists in our government deciding that, it's going to disproportionately kill off the vulnerable, and we don't like a lot of them. So I guess we'll just not work real hard on the normal public health containment messaging. And we didn't follow any of the standard public health outbreak containment practices all the way back from when we took that pump handle. Someone, one of our first public health experts took a pump handle off of a pump because it was making everybody in town sick with cholera from the well. And at the time, everybody hated that person, but they stopped the epidemic, saved lives, and stopped the death, right? We didn't have too many people willing to rip the pump handle off to make people tolerate the anger and stuff from the general public because they were being gaslit that it wasn't necessary from our own government. The governmental failures began from the top on down. It will be seen eventually as a genocide through denial of services, I believe. That's ultimately what we will come to see it as. And then in our community, we watched our police work with a group that's supposed to care about especially marginalized persons, and they held an event that where they just said, don't come to us for help, everybody's on their own, everyone should decide. There's no realm in public health education where we ever say, let's just put the information out there and let everyone decide for themselves. We tell people, listen to the experts, follow best practices, do what you're told. And yet I had to sit there and watch people who didn't have any of my credentials telling me, lies and such. And I do believe that we will see in about 3 to 5 years, we are all going to be begging for specialists, because what happened was the young people who were coming into our healthcare system to become general health practitioners prior to becoming specialists will have just decided, you know what, I'm not going to work for these people. I'm not going to do this. And what's happening is we're going to struggle to find any specialist in many specialties in 3 to 5 years. We'll be begging people to take that, because we showed them, hey, we don't value you. We don't value your expertise. And we expect you to wear a mask, but don't ask us to do the same thing. So yeah, and I'll tell you that right off the bat at Western Illinois University, the first death was somebody working in university relations who was not protected properly.
So if I could make a proposal, because I know your next speaker is about to start, I would like to propose that if it's possible, next time you meet.
And again, I'll send the links and send all the info.
Joy, Joy, I'm sorry. You're Jessica. Jessica, I always have questions. In terms of in-person events, you talked about doing those. Wondered if there's something that we can do up here to get something going for you.
In Chicago. And I think what I would just like to put out there for people to think about and consider for your organization is that everyone has been told, as Heather really astutely just laid out, that the solution to this is individual, right? Like Kathy and myself and my wife, we've all gotten our 4th shots in the last couple of days, which, by the way, the fastest way to probably get that, if you have a car, is to go to the CVS or Walgreens website and make an appointment, which right now are the same day. But that's not the solution for the most vulnerable people anywhere, no matter what color they are, right? Of course, the poorer you are and the less white you are, the more vulnerable. But what's happened here is that it's been turned into, no matter what our ages are, to this thing of like, how do I protect myself? And as Heather said, that's not the only way you could think and act in an outbreak. So there's 3 levels of this: outbreak, epidemic, pandemic. And I'm not going to give a public health class here, but basically it's a pandemic because it's affecting more than 2 continents. And so you can't solve this at an individual level. Okay, you cannot do it. It has to be solved, as Heather said, at a community level, whatever your community is. And that's the problem here, is there's lots of people in every town and county that's right here now in this meeting who have gotten sick unnecessarily, who have been hospitalized unnecessarily, who've been in ICUs and have died unnecessarily because this was not a public health response. And I'll just end with this. Mr. Smoothie, that's what I call J.B. Pritzker, has basically gotten away with murder in this pandemic. If you remember at the beginning, the big 3, Cuomo, Pritzker, and Newsom, were the ones up on their bully pulpit every day criticizing Trump. And most of their criticisms were correct. What they weren't telling you is covering up their own mishandling. So let's just take a couple of examples that affect rural Illinois. Illinois is the 4th largest meatpacking state in the country, okay? He did not send one public health person into any meatpacking plant to do anything about COVID. There were 3 or 4 meatpacking plants closed, but they were closed by the local county health departments, including Kane County closing a huge meatpacking plant near St. Charles. That's number 1. How many people here heard about anybody dying in a nursing home? Okay, J.B. Pritzker has the power to go into those nursing homes and to ensure that things were safely done. He didn't go into one nursing home. And the last thing I'll explain is that he was aided, okay, by Biden, who out-Trumped Trump, when for the first time in history, he bypassed every county, state, and local health department by sending the most vaccine to Walgreens and CVS, who then took the contract that Trump made him sign to go into every nursing home. As Heather knows, the public health departments, the EMTs from local fire departments were the ones who always historically go to nursing homes, whether it's for flu vaccine or anything else. They were iced out. Instead of them being given money, whether you're in Kane County, Will County, whatever county, Kendall County, instead of them being given money, Walgreens has made $6 billion to date off of our taxes, getting reimbursed an average of $100 a shot, whether people are insured or not. That's why they're still given the vaccine. So this is unacceptable, and I hope we can all work together at the state level like Joy has started to do, because this is a state solution. Public health, the CDC, 99% of this is in the hands of the governor of Illinois. Because, as Heather used the right word, white supremacy is what wrote the Constitution of the United States. The 33 white male founding fathers, 27 of whom were slave owners, made a compromise on purpose with the South over states' rights to give the governors complete power over this. And that's the way it is, and it's still the way it is. And this is a vulnerable time to go after JB in a good way, because I think he's running for governor again.
Howard and Joy, I just cannot thank you enough. And Heather, of course, always your voice in this space. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad we started this conversation. We'll continue it every first Saturday with both of you here to just bring us the latest of what we should know, what we should do. We're all about taking action, and a shout out to Bill down there, who is always urging us to take action. So this is pretty amazing. We could go on forever, but it's a perfect segue into Jessica Motzinger from the Poor People's Campaign, because we are facing such an incredible force with white supremacy, and this idea that we are here to build bridges, not walls, that we're here to create cross-racial solidarity by utilizing what is known as a very positive messaging of the race-class narrative, where we're all in this together. We're all in this together, urban, rural, white, black, brown, no matter what, rich and poor. There's too much at stake for us to sit back quietly. So Jessica, take it away. Thank you. You'll have to give your own little intro to yourself.
Thank you very, very much. I will actually make mine pretty quick. Most of us here, if not everyone here, is already familiar with the Poor People's Campaign and Repairs of the Breach. You're already aware that come June 18th, 2022, we are having a mass moral march in Washington, D.C., and we are trying to organize and mobilize the states, all of them, to show up and get our voices heard once and for all. Now, I am actually the state coordinating organizer or state campaign organizer. I'm not the coordinator. They still have the Illinois Poor People's coordinators. So if you have their information, please contact them and follow up, get some information from them. But what I am trying to do, and what the Repairs of the Breach is trying to do, is go ahead and get all across the spectrum of all the grassroots, all the organizations, all the unions, as many people across this great country as we can get involved and together, so that we can finally get this moral reconstruction going, because we have lost our way in this nation. We truly have. As a matter of fact, we are marching because we ignore that there is over 140 million people who are poor or just one emergency away from economic ruin before the pandemic. And since March 2020, while hundreds of thousands of people have died, millions are on the edge of hunger and eviction still today, and still without health care or living wages. Billionaire wealth has grown by over $2 trillion during the pandemic. That's unacceptable, considering that we are ignoring the concerns of over half our nation. So what can you do to help? If you are a part of a group or an organization, we are asking that you become an organizing partner or a mobilizing captain. Now, here's the great thing. If you're willing to go ahead and bring your friend along, or maybe a few people in your group, guess what? We need you to be a mobilizing captain. I will go ahead and put that link below for you to sign up. You will get a free box of goodies and swag from the Poor People's Campaign to help you get your friends and everyone excited to get this message out and to join us on June 18th. Here is what you can do. These are ways that we need you as a personal or as a group to get involved, okay? Absolutely. There's a QR code that you can scan and it'll take you to the Rally Co. bus company. And there you can create a trip when you sign up to be a mobilizing captain, or you can sponsor a bus rider. We are trying to get as many poor people and low-wage folks out to Washington, D.C., and that's going to take help from all of us. So we are actively fundraising, even if it's $5 or if it's $10, anything is appreciated, and it's going to put a butt on that bus so that we can show up in D.C. The other thing we can have, again, is you sign up as a mobilizing captain. If you have one friend or you got 15, every bit is appreciated. We have a donate button, and these donations are actually tax deductible because it's going through the repairs of the breach. So any donation you make, it is tax deductible, and any amount, we appreciate it. I ask, is there any kind of questions anyone has? And again, I'll send the links and send all the info.
Joy, Joy, I'm sorry. You're Jessica. Jessica, I always have questions. In terms of in-person events, you talked about doing those. Wondered if there's something that we can do up here to get something going for you.
Absolutely. If you could host an event, again, if you could possibly ask for commitment cards from folks, if you can ask for donations from folks, whether they show up in person or just $5 or help bring someone else along, every bit is appreciated. And the in-person events, I would love to have an in-person event and have y'all host it as Indivisible Illinois Social Justice Alliance or any other group. That would be fantastic. Anything will bring more attention and more excitement because we really need to turn out. Things are, as you all know, it's out of whack, out of balance, and it's up to us. We're here now.
Well, thank you. We'll have to talk further, and I'm sure there's other people too that maybe, have that heart and that passion, and in person is happening. So,
right. I see Heather has her hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know, at least in our area, one of the ways people can help others participate. We have a lot of people who have mobility issues or maybe don't feel up to traveling, but we have young people who want to go and have no financial privilege with which to participate in this. And so they need things like help with getting decent shoes so that when they are doing the march, they, their feet are protected. A lot of them are wearing duct tape shoes in our area. Duct tape shoes, that's a thing. And so if you want to be supportive, start messaging now. Hey, if I can't attend, but will someone go in my stead? I will fund you for this X amount. Let me know if I can help you fundraise whatever else you need to get there. That is one way of directly helping ensure that there are diverse people who are not economically disenfranchised from participating in an event like this.
Yeah, Heather and Jessica, that would be great because I've signed up to go virtually, but to know that somebody could, would walk for me.
Yes.
And I think everybody here, Bill is so good at getting this information out, and also to Howard and Joy. I mean, anything that you want Bill to put together in a newsletter, I give it all to Bill. Kind of a summary of what you've shared today, like actions steps. We talk about, a 1 minute action that people can take or a 10-minute action, but Bill, jump in. I'm not using the right term, but something like that.
You are spot on, Kathy. Okay. If somebody can do the write-up, we'll send it out
I'll-
to our membership. We are
I'll be
very
happy
blessed
to
to
write
have,
it up. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
very blessed to have about 5,000 members. They don't all show up for anything, but we do get a good percentage of people that get involved. So please send that to me. Sooner the better, and I'll get it out.
I appreciate it and will do.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've got all the links now. Last time I spoke to y'all, we didn't have everything. Now we've got everything set, and I appreciate all your help. Howard, did you have
Yeah,
a question?
I just want to say, we haven't officially, we talked about going to the march. Actually, we had probably somebody Deacon Dion Fleming, who's one of the 4 Illinois coordinators, who hasn't been able to come back to our meetings lately. But I guess my question is, will there be buses from different places in Illinois going?
Yes.
Are people going to stay overnight or come right back?
They're working on that, and that's up to the fundraising. So right now we're trying to go ahead and pay for as much of those buses as possible, because right now each rider has to pay for a ticket. And while we'll get some funding from national, we're not sure if it'll be half or 70%, but it's up to each individual state to also do fundraising to get people there. That way, again, we don't have we're not disenfranchising folks that can't afford to go, or even a bus ticket. Hopefully there will be some overnight trips. If you want to go with some friends, spend the night, do some sightseeing, that's great too. But if you do need to take a bus or prefer to take one of those Rallyco buses, they are nicer. You will have Wi-Fi and a restroom and stuff like that. But those right now are not set for spending the night. Again, that's up to our fundraising and how much we're able to get.
So I
Yes,
wasn't
sir.
sure if you put your contact info in the chat. If we want to work together to organize buses, in the northern part of Illinois, could we do that with you or?
Yes, and I will actually get you in touch with the people that are doing that are a part of the coordinating committees and everything. Yes. Get you everybody you need, all the information you need.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So Jessica,
Thank
thank you so much. And this is the exciting part of all that we do here, is that we can connect people. And this is all about building connections. I'm like overwhelmed with humility when I see the kind of resources that Joy and Howard can bring to us and that Jessica can bring to us. There is like no one person here who is the answer to everything, but together we can do so much. And that being said, I want to introduce Sarah Kanishnik, who is that person who's got lots of resources and updates on all things Newtown Action Alliance and gun violence. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kathy. And I'm so happy to see everyone. I don't know what I would do without Indivisible Illinois, NWSOFA in particular, and the iisja in particular. I just appreciate so much that you always let me share calls to action for gun violence prevention and criminal justice reform. For those of you who might not know who I am the former organizer of the Illinois Gun Violence Prevention Coalition. That's how I met a lot of the great people in this group, including, Jessica, Kathy, Bill. I mean, I could just go on and on. And we together succeeded at passing 4 gun safety bills into law in 2019. And not long after that, I started working for Newtown Action Alliance, and I worked to advance gun safety legislation at the federal level. And I've been coming once a month for the last few months to give you updates on Ethan's Law, which is a federal safe storage bill. And there have been a lot of developments since a month ago, the last time I spoke to this group. So I'm really happy to be here to tell you about it. I'm going to share my screen right now, and I'm going to show you a PowerPoint presentation. It will look familiar to a lot of you. So this PowerPoint presentation, if you were with us 1 month ago, might look a little bit familiar, but there are changes that I've made to it. And so forgive me if some of this is repetitive to some of you, but I know some of you need a little background information on Ethan's Law. And in addition to background information on Ethan's Law, I'm going to be beginning with an attempt to really draw the connections for all of you between why gun violence everywhere is a result of our failure to address the needs of communities that are underserved. So that's the overall gist of my presentation, and we're going to go ahead and dive in. So here we go. HR 748 is called Ethan's Law, and it is our best chance to pass a gun safety bill at the federal level in 30 years. Now, we have passed some gun safety bills out of the House of Representatives in recent years, including the bipartisan background check bill, but it really never had a chance of becoming law because of the power of Republicans in the Senate. This bill is different. We already have one Republican House representative who has agreed to vote yes for Ethan's Law, and we're working hard at getting Senate Republicans to do the same. This is a bill that will require the safe storage of firearms, which Republicans and 95% of gun owners 100% are in favor of. So it's a really hard bill for the gun rights lobby to push back against. And it is already passed in several states with overwhelming Republican support. So that's why we believe it has a real chance of becoming federal law. And I'm going to tell you more details about Ethan's Law in a moment, and specifically about where we're at with the effort to get it passed now. But first, here's information where you can reach me. And I want to invite everybody, I want to go ahead and invite everyone listening to contact me. Just email me at this email address, which I have now put in the chat, and I will send you this presentation so that you can just sit back, relax, and know that if you email me, I will give you this presentation and you don't have to worry about taking notes or remembering anything. So before I talk to you about Ethan's Law specifically and where we're at with the effort to pass it, I'd like to make sure that everyone in this meeting understands what it's taken me 6 years to really learn, but I'm here to tell you this is the gospel truth. Communities of privilege, so in other words, no matter where you live, right, outside of underserved communities, you must worry about gun violence in your schools, your faith communities, your shopping malls, and your workplaces, because we have ignored the needs of underserved communities everywhere in America. We are all connected. And I'm going to try to make a case for you in the next couple of minutes about why we don't have many separate gun violence problems in this country. We don't have a domestic violence with suicide problem separate from a suicide by firearm problem, separate from a school shooting problem, separate from gun violence in underserved communities, separate from hate crime, separate from gun violence as a public health issue. It is all one complex problem, and it is all connected. Therefore, our solutions and our advocacy must be connected and integrated as well. That's why my employer, Newtown Action Alliance, is one of the founding members of the Invest in Us coalition. We do not lead this coalition because that leadership can and should be done by community people who have lived experience of violence in underserved communities. So the lead organization behind the Invest in Us coalition is called the Community Justice Action Fund. It is the only nationwide Black-led advocacy organization working to get support for community violence interruption. So these are things like street outreach, violence prevention and interruption programs that are going on all over the country, nowhere better than in the city of Chicago through organizations like Precious Blood Ministry of Reconciliation, the Institute for Nonviolence Chicago, and many, many more. You may be aware that this past fall, one of the architects of those programs in Chicago was named by Governor Pritzker to lead the first ever statewide Office of Violence Prevention in Illinois. And his and all of us who support his work, his number one priority is getting this kind of help in communities that are underserved all over the state of Illinois, no matter whether those are rural, suburban, urban areas. We need this type of work in communities all over Illinois, but that work must be funded. And so what Newtown Action Alliance and the Invest in Us Coalition have done, along with other member organizations of the Invest in Us Coalition, is we've worked to make sure that $5 billion in federal funding will go to organizations that are working to reduce gun violence in underserved communities. We do that because we understand the following. When gun violence is high in Black and brown communities that are underserved, the firearms industry uses racist marketing strategies, unfortunately, racist marketing strategies that they've perfected over the last 4 decades to promote and sell their products. And you can see an example of that right here. This is an ad for an AR-15 that is clearly aimed at getting people in communities outside of places like Englewood and Austin and East St. Louis to buy guns out of fear. And those fears are based on the racist marketing strategies of the gun lobby, the firearms industry, and both of those groups are, of course, enabled by the members of Congress who are beholden to them, who receive money from them. So that's why we have to push back and why grassroots activism is so important, because we need to put pressure on Congress to stop this. Because when the firearms industry succeeds at selling guns in communities of privilege, then people of communities of privilege buy guns out of fear. And then as a result, there are many more guns on inventory at gun dealers. There are many more guns accessible to kids everywhere. There are many more guns that are available to be stolen, many of which end up right back on the streets in Black and brown underserved communities. And again, the cycle just continues. We are all connected. So if anyone believes that a tragedy like the one that took place in Newtown at Sandy Hook, killing 20 first graders and 6 educators, if anyone believes that has nothing to do with gun violence in communities like Englewood, Austin, and East St. Louis, then they are simply uninformed. We're all connected. Gun violence is not someone else's problem. It's everybody's problem. So we must all work together to end it. So I'm not going to go through this slide, but for those of you who request one, who email me and ask me to send you the PowerPoint, you can read through this. It's kind of an explanation of how the $5 billion in federal funding that we've succeeded in getting included in the Build Back Better Act will be used across the country. By advocating together, the member organizations of the Invest in Us coalition have succeeded in getting $5 billion in federal funding for community violence intervention programs included in the Build Back Better Act. Now, you may be thinking, wait, isn't the Build Back Better Act dead? Well, yes and no. It's only dead if you think of it as the Build Back Better Act. It has been renamed, and despite what has been reported in the media, this initiative for $5 billion in federal funding from the Build Back Better Act and many more are still being negotiated in Congress, and progress is being made. And we expect many of them, including our $5 billion in federal funding, to become a reality. And I heard this directly from the mouth in person of Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky at an event 2 weeks ago. So it's still worth your time and effort to call your senators, even if you already done it before, and tell them you want the Build Back Better Act passed with the $5 billion in federal funding for community violence interruption. And the information you need to do that is in slide 9, which we'll get to in a moment. So I'm going to stop talking just for a moment in case anybody would like to ask questions about the comments that I just made, particularly the connections between gun violence in communities that are underserved and communities of privilege.
Sarah, we are at 12:59, and I apologize for our short time. So maybe questions now could be.
Yeah, if you would like to email them to me, everyone has my email address, which is in the chat. Okay, I'm going to go on and really quickly tell you what's going on with Ethan's Law. So Ethan's Law, it will require all firearms loaded and unloaded to be safely stored in homes occupied by minors under the age of 18. And these are some of the tragedies that would have been prevented if we had had a federal safe storage law in place. We, Newtown Action Alliance, and lots of our partner organizations have been lobbying Congress for a year, and we really stepped it up in the month Oxford High School shooting in November, and we're making huge progress. So this is where we're at now with the effort to pass Ethan's Law. Grassroots activists have forced Congress's hand. We forced them to take a serious look at Ethan's Law, and because we have built so much support for this bill in the House. There are currently 214 co-sponsors. We need 216 in order to pass the bill. The House Judiciary Committee is considering creating a package of gun safety laws, which will include a similar safe storage law sponsored which requires firearms to be locked up in gun dealers, sponsored by Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who is in leadership on the Judiciary Committee. This is how we know that they are serious about passing this package of gun safety laws, including Ethan's Law. The plan is to introduce this package for a vote in early May during Police Week. And this effort is being strongly encouraged by White House senior staff. You're not hearing a lot of talk from the White House or President Biden about this bill. That is part of the strategy, because as soon as he starts talking about it, it becomes harder for Republicans to sign on and support. But the White House and President Biden himself are pushing hard for this to happen. Conversations with Republicans in both the House and Senate are ongoing, and that's why we need everyone to please help. I'm not going to read through all of these because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to put them in the chat for you right now. These are specific things you can do in order to both support the $5 billion in federal funding for gun violence prevention in underserved communities and support Ethan's Law. So moving on, you can also join the Keep Kids Safe Coalition on behalf of your progressive faith or community organizations. We have weekly meetings on Thursdays at 1 o'clock. You absolutely do not need to participate in those meetings, but you are welcome to. If you don't participate in the meetings and the name of your organization is listed as a member, that helps us, because it helps us point legislators to all the broad support that there is for all of our initiatives to keep kids safe. So I'm going to put the link in order to sign on behalf of your faith or community organization in the chat. And with that, and my very last slide is a list of links. Once again, if you would like this presentation emailed to you, I will be very happy to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. There is so much like you're saying, that is connected between gun violence everywhere. It's not just one place, and we're excited and to have you here to give us an update and just to motivate us never to take our eyes off of what's happening in all communities. So I believe we are at the end of our time together. Joy, Howard, Jessica, and Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. I can't think of a better use of my time than to be here with all of you. And I want to thank all of you who came today. Please stay in touch with us. There's so much that we can do together. And with that, we'll see you next week.
And we're going to turn it over to our founder of this group.
Oh, wait, we do have a
Rose.
closing. I apologize. I'm just like taking over today, Rose. Oh, hi, Rose. How are you? What do I
want to first of all say thank you to Kathy. I thought you did a spectacular job. It's a lot of work managing these meetings, and I'm sure you've done this many times before for NWSOFA, but we're so grateful at iisja to have you here. So thank you, Kathy. Thank you to all of our speakers. As I said in the chat, and I truly mean this, you really make us smarter. And this is all, to me, about collaboration, us working together. It's not one and done ever with our speakers. As many of you know, we want ongoing relationships with you. There's so much to do. But with leaders like Jessica, Sarah, Joy, Howard, all of you here, we can get things done. So I do want to close by reminding you of more things that you can do, because it is endless. Some of you might have thought that we were done in 2020, how silly that we all were when we thought that. So yes, there is another event. iisja keeps going, and next week, as we have had in the past, we have a vote forward letter writing party. Kim plays some really nice, calming, soothing music that I most definitely need, not listening to music enough. So we will be writing vote forward letters. I recommend, big surprise, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is important to the Badger State and to all of us. And then if, I don't know what the weather, weather does not look, I'm too excited, right? Weather in my place is rainy. So if you want to meet back with us at 4 o'clock, we're going to have a phone bank in Wisconsin. This is a critically important weekend. They have an election on April 5th, and all of the opportunities we have to get people to vote now, more people will vote in November. So for a lot of reasons, it's important. So today at 4 o'clock, we will be phone banking. All of this is in the chat. You can save the chat. There's 3 dots at the bottom, the corner of the screen. And then Monday at 6 p.m., we're really excited. Actual return visit from Ben Wickler, nationally renowned chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. He is going to be launching that phone bank the day before the election. That's at 6. And for those of you that want to make a trip, Safe Canvassing is back. So lots and lots of opportunities. And this officially ends the meeting. And I want to thank you all for being here. And I hope you are all return visitors.